live at the Gaborone International Convention Center. Please welcome back on stage, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, welcome back to the second part of our conversations here. That is going to lead us right into our moderated session. So I'm not going to say much because we are going to try to, as much as possible, conserve time and optimize it as we have been trying to do throughout that first part of our conference. So we're going to be looking at Tourism Digitalisation Masterclass 1, optimizing digital and travel technologies for impact business results, travel, tourism, and hospitality perspective. So to lead us in that conversation, if you may please help me to welcome our moderator, Keitumetse Setlang, Executive Manager of Marketing at the Botswana Tourism Organization. A round of applause, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Keitumetse Setlang is my name, as has already been mentioned. This afternoon, we are talking digitization. We are talking making tourism smart. And I'm going to be joined on the stage by Mr. Hando. I'll also be joined virtually by Linda Balme, as well as John Friel from Travelstart. As mentioned earlier, tourism is moving, tourism development is changing in form and shape, and the changes are affected by a number of things. One of the factors that impacts tourism right now is technology around the digital space. In Botswana, we talk digitalization, we talk digitization, and the world is also talking digitalization and digitization. And I'm going to invite one of the panelists in this panel, the two people that would have loved to be here in Botswana but unfortunately had other things to do back home, Linda and John. Hi, Linda. Hi, John.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Everybody.
Hi, Botswana.
Hello, Botswana.
We are happy to have you joining us virtually. This is the power of the digital world. And I'm going to hand over to you, John. I'm going to hand you over to you, John, to start the discussion around what you as Travelstart are doing in terms of digital, taking advantage of the digital opportunities and what it is you believe we should do as well as the tourism industry in Africa. Over to you, John.
Awesome, thank you guys. Firstly, sincere apologies that Linda and I are not with you. We love Gabs and we really wish that we were there, but I'm sure you're having a fabulous conference. So a little bit of intros first of all, and then we'll get into the conversation. My name's John Friel and I'm the country manager of Travelstart in South Africa. Travelstart is the largest online travel agency, or OTA, in Africa. We are based here in the beautiful mother city of Cape Town, where the sun is shining and I'm looking at the mountain as I speak to you. So beautiful.
Not as nice as Gaborone, though. Not as nice as Gaborone. No.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're the largest online travel agency in Africa. We have office location in Nigeria, looking after the West Africa, Middle East and North Africa. We have a location in Cairo and also satellite offices in East Africa. So we're very proud to be Africa's largest leading online agency, and we're just turned sweet 16 this year. So we are almost officially an adult. Not that we act like adults, but we are. And on my right-hand side.
So I'm particularly sad not to be with you in the room. As our good mate Kwachi knows, this will be the first conference that I haven't been able to attend because I love you guys. I love so many of you speakers and so many people attending. We are now age-old friends after doing so many of these wonderful conferences. So great regrets that we're here. But so I look after all the commercial relationships, all the wonderful partnerships, and that's one of the big things that John and I are going to be talking about today. digitalization and technology is only as good as the people behind it and the partnerships involved in it. So that's just going to be what we're going to touch on in this masterclass. What's really critical to us is that we ensure that everybody has some takeaways from what we are going to be talking about and really has a bit of an idea of not what's made us a success or where we've fallen short, because that has definitely happened over the last few months, years, 16 years, where we've had some real wins and some real learnings, but more what everybody can do to really grow their business and really get into the recovery stage of tourism. So, John, I'm going to just ask you a question, if that's all right. Is that all right, sir?
Indeed. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. So, John, Travelstart, as you know, as you've mentioned, we are a very large online player here in Africa. Technology is our lifeblood. We are around because of it, and we are 100% dependent on it. But of all that's the backbone of Travelstart, the whole range of technology stacks, etc., that we have, what do you think has been our number one tool that has made the greatest impact, and why from us as a digitalization and technology perspective?
Linda, it's a good question, and you mentioned the word range, and yeah, we went into the pandemic with a pretty strong technology stack or platform behind us. And coming out of the pandemic, thankfully, we're definitely all seeing the green shoots of that. It's really not about now what is the range of technology that we look at. What we look at is what single individual pieces of technology do we need in our business to drive our business forward. And I think that if we take that a step back, that is really doesn't matter how big your business is, Linda. No. Whether you're a small guest house, whether you're a tour operator, whether you're a tourist board, it really doesn't matter. What we've done is we've looked at our business quite critically, and we look at one thing that makes the difference in our business at any one time. I think a mistake that we made post-pandemic was that crisis that we were all in, trying to do 10, 15 things all at the same time. And I'm sure many of us can relate to that. And let's face it, particularly as men people, we're not good at multitasking. So,
no.
It
I
really...
love you, John, but you're not a great multitasker. No. We're here for you.
I believe in one thing at a time, focusing on one thing at a time. And guys, again, it really doesn't matter the scale of your business. The philosophy behind that is the same. Really focus on what you need in your business that is going to make a difference in your business. And that doesn't matter what that looks like. So technology, what is it? It could be an API that you need to implement with a partner. It could be content that you need from an aggregator. It could be a multitude of different things.
A distribution channel.
Absolutely.
A digital marketing kind of one strategy that you stick to until you get your outcome, as long as that, is it your one thing.
Totally agree. And that's the philosophy that the pandemic really taught us all lessons, personally, as well as in the business world, that do something, do it right, and take the risk. And that is another thing from the pandemic that I think we all have taken. Take the risk, try it. If it doesn't work, don't do it again. But try something, as I say, regardless of the size. I'll give you one example, Linda.
Let's run with an example.
We are an online travel agency. Our business is built on big volumes at low margins. I'm going to talk about negative margins in a second. So what we did was
zero margins.
Negative margin.
Negative, below zero.
Below zero, which sounds a bit crazy. But what we did was to drive our business is built on giving our customers the ability to have the best available choice of flights at the best possible price. So we developed a very sophisticated dynamic pricing system called Midas. Why is it called Midas?
Because it was our Greek division of Travelstart. Our Greek division, they were the ones that decided it had to be, they made it. Its home is in Greece.
And apparently Midas is some mythical Greek Lord God. Anyway,
if you touch it, it turns to gold.
If you touch it, it turns to gold,
Yeah.
and that's what Midas does. It allows us to be the most competitive in the market where we want to be the most competitive in the market. It manages our margins and it gives our customers the very best price. Now, those of you that have flown up to Gaborone, or if you've been traveling recently, you'll know that the price of flying these days is nowhere near as low as it used to be. And what we've done with many of our partnerships, which Linda's going to touch on in a second, we actually sometimes apply a negative margin. Yeah. And why do we do that? We do that in order to drive the result of a partnership. That could be for the airline, or it could be for a tourist board. It could be for a multitude of different things. So we want to make sure that we make travel as affordable as it possibly can be, whilst we still make a bit of money, because we're not a charity and we have to make money, but we want to drive that level of volume. And Midas does that, and it's an incredibly sophisticated piece of technology. But some of you guys in the room may not have the ability to develop sophisticated technology. That's not the point. The point is, choose something, choose one thing, get it done, do it properly, then do the next thing. You know your business better than anyone else.
So I just want to look at that for a second. If I look at us as Travelstart, John mentioned that we use Midas as a pricing tool. I mean, it is super smart. It can read any price in that's going on in the market at any given point of time and make sure that we are slightly below that pricing, or however else it works. But flights and accommodation is our bread and butter as a company. We are not good with activities. So what have we done? We've partnered with an aggregator to bring us activities, so we still have a full product range. Even though it's not where we are wasting our development on, we are partnering with somebody else to bring in that, so that we can have that all-round offering without putting a lot of resource behind it. So that is one of our big tools, is that, we've spoken about the 3 key takeaways. Number one, have your one thing that you're really good at, you're best in class. For us, being price competitive is critical. That when you go on our website, you will find the best deal on the day. Largely, most times. There is obviously different attributes that change that. But now, John, I mean, this was really important over COVID. Now, we were lucky because we were a technology company before COVID, when the rest of the world really had to embrace technology a lot more. But it was also a strength and a weakness for us, because we are also a very, I suppose, a big player, which once again is a benefits, and it has benefits and its risks. And it meant that on the weekend that the world came in, the borders all closed, we had 16,000 people in the air flying over the 3 days before South Africa had closed their borders. Now suddenly that's a risk, because you have so many customers and so few resources. Mm-hmm. So, that's where technology is critical, but it's not as critical as the customer. It's not as critical as the human element of a business. So technology can never, ever entirely replace a human, because then you will lose all customer experiences. And no technology is strong enough to get you through that. Mm-hmm. So, John, just a little bit of a look on why do you think we've kind of come out of COVID in maybe a stronger position, dare I say, than we were even before COVID? And I know that this is true of a lot of businesses. What would you advise, and what do you think we did right, and what would you advise others to look at to really be able to ensure that recovery takes place in a strong way?
Really, Linda, for me, it's build your technology requirements around not only your business, but your customer. We, over the COVID period, came out of the crisis. And a lot of what we did was we talked to our own people who talked to our customers, and really listened to what are our customers battling with. What is it that is the pain point? Why are they touching us if they don't want to touch us? Meaning they want to do things themselves. They want to do things without actually talking to a human being. That's why they deal with an online travel agency in the first place, Linda, because they don't want to talk to somebody. So until they do. Unlike us, when we can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
But until they need somebody. So what we did was we took a lot of time and a lot of effort talking to our customer service team who talk to our customers, both here and other parts of our business. We talked directly to our customers to find out exactly what is it that you would rather that we do, or what can we do that we don't do. So really taking time to get that human element in and develop our technology or develop our automation around what it is that was lacking in our business that makes it easier for our humans to interact with our customers and our customer humans to interact with us. So it's really not all about technology. For me, technology is, of course, the driver, but the heart of the business is still the people around it. And those people are our own staff members, our own people that talk to our customers, as well as not only the people that buy the flights, but our partners.
Yeah, totally.
That is an absolutely critical part of our business. Technology cannot drive, although technology can help us talk to each other, like now, we're thousands of kilometers away and technology helps this, but that personal interaction with your partners is so critical, and I think it's important to you, Linda.
So yeah, I want to shout out to a lot of my partners in the room over there in Gabs, but once again, just looking at this as before, during, and post-COVID. In particular, let's talk about during COVID, and I can speak very highly of what John and his team did, where even though there was not an aeroplane in the sky, even though there was not a border that was open, even though destination marketing or banks or whoever we work with as partners,
and there was no alcohol because
there was no alcohol,
lockdown.
So we couldn't really talk to each other either, because that's one of our key love languages, is over a glass of wine. But what I must say, and I do believe we did very well, was that we never stopped talking. We spoke to the airlines every single week. We had conversations set up with airlines every single week, and I know every few weeks we spoke to the destination marketing guys, going, okay, when we get out of here, or in the meantime, how do we stay top of mind? When your airline starts flying, what are we and how are we going to communicate to the public that you're back open and this is what's required? What good deals are we going to get out there? What can we do to help? What can we do to help a destination? How can we drive recovery to a destination? What good deals will be attractive enough to get people to get on a plane, even though they're nervous to travel? What is the message that we're going to get across to the 5 million people we have in our database? And it was constantly, we're here to support you. What can we do? What can we do? Public sector, what do you need from us as the private sector? Private sector, this is how we can help you. Public sector, we can get people on planes. You just make sure that those airlines get back and those borders get open, and we'll be able to put people on planes, we'll be able to put people in beds. That relationship, even though for those 6 months was just not a plane, not a bed, not anything open, our phone lines were never ending and constantly building relationship. So technology, one thing, relationship, everything. And finally, John, just agility. I know we're running out of time, but we just want to talk about the ability to really come up with a strategy and really stick to it and make it work quickly. We've all learned that time is not on our side for anything. So can we let's just touch on agility and how you could recommend being fast, furious, and happening in any sphere that we find ourselves in?
Yeah, so in our world, communication in terms of getting the message to our customer first is absolutely key.
Yeah.
If you're first, you'll win. If you're second, chances are that you won't win. So we take communication with our customers in all digital forms it's the heart of our business.
Yeah.
Digital marketing is the heart of our business, and that is a form of technology. So we, from our perspective, the minute we hear of something, we want to be first to get that message to our customer. We want our customer to know when they see a communication from Travelstart, I want to see it, I want to look at it, because it's probably cutting edge news. It's something that is hot off the press. So we spend, again, a lot of time and a lot of energy on digital marketing platforms and again, solutions to make sure that we are first to get that message to our customer. And that for us is really, really important. So that's about agility. You sit back and you wait 20 minutes, your competitor will take that customer from you. You are 20 minutes ahead of your competitor, you take that customer from them. Speed, agility is really, really important. And I think that covers any business.
Yeah.
If you're an eco-lodge and you've got 10 competitors in the same province as you need to be agile, you need to be first. You need your customers to be the ones looking out for your communications all of the time and not your competitor, because theirs is second-rate news, yours is first-rate news, Sky News.
I just want to say, and the good thing is that the customer actually responds rapidly also. So I look at now, John mentioned digital marketing, but this is just, and he mentioned, of course, our MIDA strategy with pricing. So those are our two key, probably strengths, you know. So the one thing is that we will put out a sale to a destination. So let's talk about Air Botswana, for instance, or just visiting Botswana. So if we get a deal from Air Botswana and say we'll negotiate, we'll go, okay, we're gonna promote Botswana for you. Thanks for the great deal. This is an exclusive. We'll pop it all over our platforms. We know that immediately, because of today's booking curve, where people are not planning that as well in ahead as they used to, that if the deal is good and the pricing is right, they will buy immediately for travel, and in particular short haul, and for travel within the next, you know, let's call it 10 days even. And that's for regional travel. For domestic travel, it's literally within a week. Decision making is rapid. So, you know, if you get a deal and you get a good opportunity or a good partnership, and you hold on to that for too long, you're actually robbing yourself of a rapid response and an outcome a win that could be yours within a week of posting a deal or a week of advertising something. So, you know, that's something that's what we've noticed, is that, you know, every action really does bring about a response, and every response, if that action is strong and compelling, you will have an increase in visitor numbers the minute you've actually posted that activation. So, you know, so agility in any way, whether it's to good, bad, ugly situations, whether it's a really great deal, a really great sale, a really great story that you've told, you will get an outcome quickly if you post rapidly. And finally, communication. Who are you dealing with? Who are you talking to? Who are you partnering with? It's all about that communication and what you are getting to market as quickly as possible.
John, thank you. Let's give them a big round of applause. Linda and John emphasize customer-centric behaviors. Digitalization makes it easy for us to connect with our customers as speedily as we are supposed to be. And they emphasize and remind us that we have got no choice but to embrace technology, especially digitalization. I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Hando. Mr. Hando is the founder of Best Marketing and Marketing Parrot, based in Estonia. What's your take on this digitalization and digital world advancements?
Hello, everybody. I come from Estonia, which is a tiny country in Northern Europe, and actually there is one similarity between Botswana and Estonia, and this is the flag. Estonia and Botswana are the only two countries in the world that have the same flag colors, blue, black, and white.
Oh.
So I actually brought the Estonian flag with me, so I'll have another session tomorrow, so I'll bring this flag with me then.
Amazing.
Estonia is a tiny country. The population is only 1.3 million, which is even smaller than Botswana. But Estonia is probably the most digitalized country in the world. So we live in the far north, and the weather is really bad all through the year, and that means that many people have nothing else to do than work on their computers and do coding and, you know, stuff. And Estonia has a fully digital government, which means that every business you can imagine you can do online with the government. You can go, let's say you can register your car, you can register the birth of your child, you can vote on elections. Basically, every imaginable thing you can do from your home using the digital ID card. So I personally, like every Estonian, we have a lot of experience with all kinds of digital services, including travel services. And I think that technology is important, but even with very advanced technologies, I can see that even more important than technology is communication. Previous speakers also mentioned the importance of communication, but I think especially post-COVID or during the COVID, the biggest challenge for the travel industry in general is trust. Because with all those flight delays and flight cancellations and all the nightmare that is happening at the airports, and every kind of imaginable change in travel regulations, you don't know what kind of documentation country A or B requires. Does it have to be like free injections of COVID vaccine, or would be one enough, or you know, all these regulations change every day. So people actually do not trust the institutions anymore. And I'm also avid traveler. I've been myself traveling into more than 70 countries. And I also participate in all kinds of travel forums. And I see that people in those travel forums actually ask the questions they could easily find from the websites of a particular country or an airline, but they don't do so because they do not trust those institutions. They would rather ask the question from a fellow traveler because they trust this person-to-person information more. And I think this is the area where every company that is involved in tourism and travel should put more focus on. Some practical recommendations. I encourage all of you to participate actively on all those travel forums, because if the customers ask questions, is this place open? You know, can you enter the country with particular COVID certificate? Any kind of questions. Then you as a travel business representatives could also be on that forums and actually actively communicate. And I think this is a good way of building trust. It's a good way of building your brand and also maybe even generating some leads. Because if you find from those travel forums people who ask questions about particular safari tour or particular hotel, and you're a representative of that business, you could easily reply and maybe even get a personal contact with that person who was interested. Then crisis communications, extremely important. If something goes wrong, if the flight is cancelled, if the hotel booking is cancelled, you need to respond immediately. And this is where technology sometimes is even maybe an obstacle, because it's not enough if you put information, sorry, your flight has been cancelled on a website, because the customer has millions of questions related to that. So you need to have somebody responding to those questions all the time. And unfortunately, all those kind of, those chat robots you see on many websites, the chat robots are not intelligent enough. So you need real people, people with enough responsibility to solve even the most complicated situations. Because if your customer service rep does not have the authority to solve the problem, then the customer is not happy. So you need to resolve even the most complex issues with really high speed. One example from yesterday, actually, I know that there are some fellow passengers who came with the Ethiopian Airlines flight from Addis Ababa to Gaborone yesterday. So the flight was delayed in Victoria Falls, where it stopped for refueling. And for some reason, the plane was stranded on the airport for more than 2 hours. Basically, the AC didn't work, so the air temperature on that plane was, I don't know, 50 degrees maybe. And even one person was about to faint. And what happened was that there was only very limited communications from the crew. The captain, I think, only spoke once. And people basically were panicking. So, you know, how difficult it is to, like, for a captain of the airplane to speak to the passengers, like every 10 minutes or so, say, cool down, it's okay, we're going to solve this problem. Right now we are doing this and hopefully we will solve. The captain did do so. So I think that's the easiest way to solve the crisis, is to communicate. Even if you don't have the power to solve the problem, you can communicate to your people, to your customers, and say that at least there is work in progress, you're doing something. Because if you leave them without, if you leave your customers without information, they actually they start panicking. Then what I found increasingly on all kinds of websites is that very often the websites have very limited information, and very often there's no customer service available, because people, when they book travel, they very often do it after office hours, because this is something you, especially when you book for your holiday, you want to do it on Sundays, maybe in the evenings with your family or partner. So in that time, normally the customer service on the phone is not available. So the way to solve it is to put as much information as possible on your website, because people can find it. If the website is well organized, you can find it. And there is a really simple method how to do that. So basically, you should collect all the questions you get from your customers, either via website. There are tools on Google to find the questions people ask, or you can collect this information from your customer service reps and try to answer every single question and put the answers on the website. Yeah. And then you build over time, you build a huge database of all questions and all answers. And over a time, this becomes a really valuable resource, and you can actually save quite a bit of money on customer service if you have answers to all of your questions, all the questions from your customers available easily on the website. And finally, kind of word of warning about marketing automation. Because nowadays you can basically automate everything. You can automate, you know, all of us have received those automated emails. And of course it's easy, and people are kind of expecting to get a confirmation email after every transaction. But sometimes the automation goes maybe too far. And again, my personal experience from few months back, I was about to fly to London few months ago, and then like a night before I got email from my airline, and the subject said your flight confirmation, and I didn't open that email right away, but when I did it later, the subject line said flight confirmation, but when I opened the email, it said, sorry, your flight has been cancelled. So basically, it was some sort of automation error. The subject was still from the kind of some previous communication. So if you don't open the email, if you don't read it, you get completely wrong picture. And sometimes these automated emails are really misleading. So if you start using the marketing automation, email automation, please use your human brain as well. So the robots that send those emails are often very, very stupid, I would say. Okay, that was my 5 cents. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hando. A big round of applause for Mr. Hando. Mr. Hando says, keep a balance. Digitize, automate, but we also want that human interaction in the entire transaction. I'm going to allow questions from the floor. And remember, we are also joined by some of the participants virtually. Any question from the floor to Mr. Hando, to John and Linda as well, who are still around, joining us virtually? Any question? Show by a raise of hand, so we may point at you. Mr. Hando says time is of essence, response time is important. There's a hand up there, please. Time is of essence and real-time response is important.
Afternoon, my
Thank
name
you.
is Balasa. I am a creative arts consultant and I also write for the Woman to Woman magazine. My question is, most of the places that you would find tourist attractions are not most digitized. What is the plan looking at the SADC region, and what can you suggest for us to help in terms of placing adequate technology within these communities so that the people living in those communities are able to benefit as well?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask that you take the question?
So I didn't hear it very well. So the question was where to find information, or can you repeat that maybe?
Do you want to repeat the question?
No problem. My question was, most of these areas where there's tourist attractions or heritage sites are in very rustic neighborhoods or communities. How are we then going to be able to position technology that benefits the community and the businesses within these communities?
So it's really
It's
echoing
really,
from...
yeah, it's difficult to hear. Do you want to stand up, please, maybe? It might be different, or you walk up front a little bit.
Okay. Thank you. I was saying that most of these...
That's better.
Most of the tourist attractions are located in rural communities.
Yes.
What technological positions or what kind of technology is available to place in these communities that would benefit the people there and along with the businesses as well?
Okay.
Well, rural communities, very often when foreign tourists like myself, when we travel to rural communities, we would like to actually experience the life in those communities as well. Because it's you know, interesting, exotic to us. It opens our perspective, and I think that one way to kind of engage those people in the rural communities would be to maybe help them to create social media profiles, like Instagram or Facebook, and this is the way how tourists could also get more information about these places, and then though these local people in the communities can become ambassadors, or the ones who promote the community, and you know, over a long time it's also possible to build relationships between the community and the tourist. So I think that, you know, there are ways how to use social media for that.
Okay. There's another question here. How long did it take Estonia government to almost fully digitize? How long did it take the Estonia government to fully digitize? And any advice on digital strategies for e-residency and e-tourism?
Well, it actually took quite a long time, and there is still work in progress. So it's not really a project with a determined beginning and the end. It's more of a mindset, I think. Yeah. So our previous one of the previous presidents actually had a vision that Estonia should become the most digital nation in the world, and it all started with a vision. Another thing that really helped was that Skype, probably you all know Skype, was born in Estonia, and Skype created a large number of people with digital skills. And those people, even though Skype now is owned by Microsoft, and I think Microsoft has actually put it on somewhere in the closet, so now they are developing Teams instead. But the heritage of Skype really helped. So this is another factor, that you need a visionary, somebody who sets a vision, and this could be, I think, president or a head of state would be obvious choice. And then you need a critical amount of people who are able to execute this vision. And then after that, you need a specific plan how to do that. And I think, Botswana and maybe Namibia and some other countries here in the region have a good potential for that, because if your country, the population of a country is small, it's much easier to execute such projects. Yeah. I imagine it can be quite difficult in a place like Nigeria, for example, with large population. But countries with small population like Botswana and Namibia, definitely they could easily do things like that. So it takes time, obviously, and it takes a lot of cooperation from different organizations, like different ministries, because you have one backbone, and then you need to interconnect different government organizations such as, let's say, healthcare and internal affairs, and whoever is responsible for the elections. So they all have to work together for the common goal.
Yeah.
So that's probably the experience.
Thank you very much. In the interest of time, you are going to stop here. But what Mr. Hando just said is partnerships, let's work together, innovate, and most importantly, implement your plans. Thank you very much, Mr. Hando. Thank you very much, Linda and John. Thank you very much, those that are watching online. And thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you.